So next we are going to do the shape worksheet. Again, some of you guys might have that, others might not. Everyone has the PDF online. If you want to print it out, great, but you absolutely do not have to. Okay, so we're going to fill this out. You can just write everything on a blank piece of paper if you'd rather do that. And you know what? I will do that this time, so that way you can have an example of what it looks like on a regular piece of paper. So I'm going to write my definition first. So I'll just write it at the top. Our definition for shape is a flat area enclosed by a line. Okay, so I'm just going to write it at the top. A flat area enclosed, and that's an important word, enclosed by a line. Okay? And let's put shape somewhere on this paper so that way we know what it's for. Okay. Alright, so we've got our definition, a flat area enclosed by a line. For example, I'll explain this, kind of like I did with the line. So a line, right, it's a point in motion. That point's moving. But when that point, it's moving, and maybe it goes in a crazy direction, and it hits itself, the line, when there's no space that can get out, when there's no air able to get out, that's a shape, right? So this is a line, this is a shape. Again, simple stuff, we're starting with the basics, but it's important to know. Okay? So, there are two types of shapes, and we are going to make our little T-chart. So we're going to make a T-chart here. All right. There are two types of shapes, so organic and geometric. Let's start with geometric actually. So geometric shapes, think geometry. That's kind of what I think of. So geometric, geometry. Those shapes that you see sometimes in math class that you recognize, right? So a square. It's more of a rectangle, but that's okay. We'll do a longer rectangle. A circle we recognize, right? Triangle. We also know a octagon, like a stop sign. That's a pretty good one. All right. So any of these, basic recognized shapes. Okay, octagon, hexagon, pentagon, square, rectangle, even an oval, triangle, all of those. All the shapes that you kind of know, right? All the shapes that have names. We'll write that here. They have names. Okay. That's how you really know it's a geometric shape, right? Because it has a name. Organic shapes, they're more free-flowing. They have they're not as straight, and they're not as straightforward as geometric shapes. They're not as simple, right? They just kind of do what they want. They're more blob-like. They're more complicated. Okay, so for example, an organic shape would just be kind of like a paint splatter blob situation. All right, it might be more of like a leafy shape. It could have straight lines. Could be like a weird weird organic shape. All right, but these are more complicated shapes. Again, these have names. These usually don't. I mean, although we say, you know, paint splatter leaf, but we're just kind of more so making them up. All right, so those are the difference. This is more, we'll say, free-flowing. All right, more complicated, simpler, that kind of situation. Okay, I'll give us a second for that to sink in. So our two different types of shapes. And then at the bottom here, it asks us, what is abstract art? All right. Abstract art, which if you have my class, we talk about a lot. Abstract art does not represent reality, right? So it doesn't look like anything. For example, Zentangles that we'll talk about later, it doesn't really represent anything. It's just kind of a bunch of patterns. There's an eyeball there, but that's really the only thing that you can really recognize, okay, as a whole. All right, so you can either write it on the line if you have the paper, or we can just write it at the bottom. We'll say abstract art. Abstract art is art that does not represent reality. Okay, and uses mostly line and shape. Okay. On the next slide, I will show you a couple of examples of abstract art, okay? And I will give you an example of the difference between abstract art and realistic art. Okay, so that way you guys can really see what I'm talking about. But the official definition that we're going with is abstract art is art that does not represent reality and uses mostly line and shape. Okay, that's what we're going with. Now, the second part of this paper says to draw an abstract design that incorporates organic and geometric overlapping shapes. Okay, overlapping. Now I'm going to do this on the back because I don't have a lot of room. Actually, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to do this on the back because I don't have a lot of room. I'm going to do it right in this space here. So mine's going to be smaller, but try to make this one as big as you can. We're using organic and geometric shapes, and they're going to overlap. So I might start with a rectangle. Remember, it doesn't have to look like anything. It shouldn't look like anything. Rectangle. And then maybe I'm going to put a crazy blob right on top. Okay? And then maybe I put a circle, but I want the circle to look like it's behind this blob. So what we do is what I call a bump and jump line. So I'm making the circle. I'm going to start here. I'm circling, and I bump into this shape. I'm going to jump to the other side and continue what I'm doing. Okay, so now that circle looks like it's behind the blob. Do the same thing for a triangle. Okay, there's nowhere to jump, so I just kind of bumped and stopped. Okay, maybe I'll do a big blob right in the middle. This kind of looks like eggs. So I bumped and I'm jumping. Okay, so simple stuff. All right, so we have organic and geometric shapes that are overlapping to create an abstract design. Okay? If you would like to, you're welcome to color this, but you don't have to. It is up to you. Okay? So this is our shape worksheet. Alright, so you have the line worksheet and the shape worksheet, and that is just what we are going over so far. Okay, so I hope you guys do well with this. Again, we're taking it back to the basics just to get everybody on the same page, and then our next project we will combine line and shape to create a Zentangle. Okay, so that's what all of this is leading up to. Okay, email me if you have any questions. Whatever you finish, upload it to Plus Portals, please. Okay, I would really like you to upload it to Plus Portals instead of emailing it to me, because I am starting to miss some of my emails just because I get so many. Okay, and I want to make sure that I give you guys the grades that you deserve. So, line, shape worksheet, that will be it for this week, and then next week we will start our Zentangle project. Okay? All right. Good luck.